What's going on, everybody? Welcome in Wager Alarm live stream special Wednesday night edition. Why Wednesday night? Because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. So wishing everybody out there a very happy Thanksgiving. But we got 3 games to talk about for tomorrow. We got to put our super contest picks in now because we're going to play some Thursday games here. And we just want to be able to enjoy the holiday weekend and not do one of these on Friday. So we got college picks for you. We got NFL super contest picks for you. Craig, it's a little risky putting your picks in this early, especially for Sunday, Monday games. How confident are you, though, in just the natural course of things that we're gonna be okay?
Yeah, through my experience with the Super Contest, I've always picked a game on Thursday, at least one out of the 3. It is a little risky because, again, you have the games on Sunday, but you have 2 teams that are off in Kansas City and the Rams. And then you have another 6 teams that are playing on Thursday. So really, if you don't choose any games on Thursday, you're really dealing with a very short pool of games, especially considering you have a Monday night game and a Sunday night game. So I always kind of like the enjoyment of throwing one down. And in this case, maybe we'll have more than one on the Thursday games as per the Super Contest rules, that if you do choose a Thursday game, you have to choose them all. So we could skip all of these games and then just choose Sunday, but we actually do have an opinion on at least a couple of them, so we'll take a look at that. In terms of college football, it's a little sad. This is the last full week of college football games. This is it. We have games Thursday night, Friday night. We have Saturday games, and then that's it. Next week is the conference championship games. Now, there's still about a dozen games to choose from next week, somewhere between 12 to 15 games instead of like a million. So we'll still have some fun with that next week, and I'll definitely still put 3 picks together for that. But then the following week, Howard, is only Army versus Navy, and that's it. It's always just that one game that's played the week after the championship games, and then we have the bowl week. So in terms of college, this is the last full week. Next week we'll do championship games. I'll have a pick on Army Navy, and then we'll move on to all the bowl games, and we'll do a full special of that. But last week, honestly, probably our worst week of the season. It just didn't go well for college or for pro. And so we're going to get back on the right track this week. And hopefully for those of you who have been following us all season long, we'll do a good job for you this week.
We'll do a much better job than we did last week. Yeah, what did we were like 1-4 in the Super Contest?
Horrible.
That wasn't good. And then, 1-2 in college. So let's put it all behind us. Let's move forward here, right? Because that's what we're going to do. Before we get started here, though, Craig, let me give a shout-out here to our new sponsor for the Wager Alarm live stream. It's our friends over at BetDSI. When you play, you need to get paid, guys, and BetDSI has been paying winners for 20 years. BetDSI is incredibly user-friendly, pays out faster than any other site, and even has live in-game wagering. So that's a big one there. The live in-game stuff is cool. Right now, for Wager Alarm users, BetDSI will give new members 100% bonus match using promo code ALARM100. All right, that's more than double your money to start winning right now. It's only a game until you bet on it. So hurry to fantasyalarm.com/bet. Fantasyalarm.com/bet. Use the promo code ALARM100. And get yourself the little deposit match. So welcome, BetDSI. Thanks for sponsoring here. And Craig, well, let's get to some college picks right now. What are we looking at? Funny you're talking about the Army-Navy game, because I think somebody's looking at Navy.
Yeah, we're going to go back to Navy this week, but we'll start since we have a choice of Friday and Saturday. I believe I have one Friday game that I've chosen here. The first game is going to be, I'm going to go back to a couple of totals since the totals really have saved me all season long, let's be honest. And I think I've won like every single total, which is weird, but like every single total has come in. I think if we've done this 12 weeks, I've probably picked 9 totals, maybe 8-1 or 7, and like almost all of them have won. So Friday night, Washington plays Washington State. This is a big rivalry game, as are all the games, and a lot of these games and the rivalry games usually go under because these teams know each other very well. The weather is not supposed to be great in Washington. A lot of rain, maybe even some potential snow. That's definitely a factor here. And neither team in particular, when they face decent opponents, haven't been able to put up a lot of points. So the total is a scary low college one for the Pac-12 at 49. But there are just so many factors that are playing into this one. Also, very specifically, Washington State still feels like they have an outside shot as to getting in that Final Four. I really don't think they do at this point. But They certainly feel that way. The line is actually -2.5. Washington State is favored. It tells you it's going to be a very close game. I kind of see maybe a total of 4 touchdowns in this game. So a final score of maybe 23-20, something like that, 24-21. But I do think this goes under the total of 49. So that's the first pick. The second pick is going to be Navy. Navy is getting 7 points this week. Now, you may remember earlier this season, Howard, one of the luckiest picks I think that we've had all season long was taking Navy. They were playing against Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And remember, they were huge underdogs in that game. And lucky for us, in that particular game, Notre Dame decided to stop scoring, and they didn't run up the score. This week, they play a team in Tulane. Tulane is 5-6 on the season. They got whipped 48-17 last week. Navy is a team just like Air Force is that all they do is run the ball. They don't throw the ball at all. And so, therefore, a lot of the totals usually go under if they're able to keep the tempo. The key for this game is that Navy is not very good. In fact, when they play Army, I'm going to take Army, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the line will be, but I'm going to guess Army will be a touchdown favorite over Navy. And normally, by the way, Navy crushes Army in these games. I think it's going to flip this year because Army's been better. But I like a tempo-type game. They played last year, these two teams, 23-21. Navy won the game outright. I think Navy has a chance to win this game outright. Tulane is just not a good football team, and they don't put up a lot of points either. So I think 7 is too much to give to a team that just keeps the ball on the ground and runs. What you don't want to happen in this game, if you're going to side with us and you're going to take Navy, is you don't want to see Tulane go up like 17-3, because then that puts Navy in a position to have to throw, and they don't throw. So it's over at that point. But that's what we're hoping for there. So that's the second game. And then the third game is a SEC game versus ACC, another rivalry game. They're all rivalry games this week. 52 points a total between Kentucky and Louisville. Louisville, you remember last week on the stream, I said if Louisville loses this week, they'll probably fire Bobby Petrino. They ended up doing that. They've been blown out in virtually every single game this year. They're only averaging about 10, 15 points a game, and this total is 52 somehow. So I guess the expectation is, at least from the odds makers, is that Kentucky in some way is going to throw a 40 spot up on Louisville like a lot of other teams do. But that's just not what Kentucky does. They run the ball, and they don't really throw the ball all that much. They've had a couple of games this season where their offense has exploded, but some of that has been on defense too. So another under for me. So a second under there, under 52 points, Kentucky-Louisville, and that would be the third pick in our final week of the full slate of college football. And then I would say, I mean, listen, we've had a pretty good year in college, but then it gets very tough starting now because all of the games are, especially next week, these are all conference championship games. There's no real edges to these. The lines are real sharp. Right. You're not going to see line movement on a Tuesday. All of a sudden on Saturday, the lines move 4 or 5 points. It doesn't happen anymore like that. And then when it comes down to these bowl games, Howard, is that the difference is that when we give out our picks on the bowl games, that's when things can significantly change because players get suspended for the bowl games. You know, they go out and they party. They're not academically ineligible. The coaches, a lot of times, there's going to be, remember, 40 bowl games. That's 80 coaches. There's going to be like 6 or 7 that are going to bail on their team before the bowl game. Right. Imagine what the players are thinking at that point. Usually they get smoked in those situations. They get killed. So we'll have to check the lines there as well. A lot of those situations are definitely up for grabs, and we'll do a bowl special in 2 weeks when they release all the lines. We'll have to wait until next Sunday, and then they announce the final 4 teams that are going to be playing in the playoff. And clearly, as of right now, it looks like Alabama's the number 1 team. Clemson is the number 2 team. Notre Dame is a sure shot number 3 unless they lose to USC. And then Michigan, Howard, is the number 4 team. And, of course, Michigan this week plays Ohio State. Michigan is 5-point favorites in that game. There are a lot of people who think Ohio State is going to rally and beat Michigan. And then if they do, that opens up a wild scenario for the playoffs. So we'll wait to see and see what happens and see how it plays out.
Does it open up the door for your West Virginia pick?
No, West Virginia lost last week in the last play of the game. I can tear this up on live.
If you
know what? I mean, they're 1,000 to 1 right now. I have them at 40 to 1. I think what's going to happen is they'll play Oklahoma this week, and then once they lose to Oklahoma Friday night, then I'll tear it up.
Then you'll officially tear it up.
All they had to do was win that game at Oklahoma State. They lost again, man. They've had some disappointing losses this season. And you're just looking for value, and lo and behold, guess what? They're going to play Oklahoma. They would have had a shot if they would have beaten them and then beat them in the conference championship. All they would have needed is Ohio State to win, and then they're in the conversation. So what's really interesting is, of course, Central Florida, the team that hasn't lost a game in 2 years. 2 years they haven't lost a game, and they're ranked number 9. They're going to need all kinds of things to happen. They play against South Florida this week, and it's usually a rivalry game there as well. They're minus 14 against USF. So a lot of fun games usually in college this weekend, Howard. In fact, on Thursday, not only do we have pro football games, we have 2 college football games. Usually it's just one. We have 2. On Thursday night, we have Mississippi State and Mississippi. Mississippi State is 11-point favorites at Mississippi. Last year, Mississippi was a huge underdog at Mississippi State, and Mississippi went in and beat them. These are the kind of things that happen in these wild games. So, and then I think Air Force plays against Colorado State also tomorrow, which is like a throwaway game. But either way, we got 5 football games to watch tomorrow.
Love it. Absolutely love it. It'll give me a reason not to talk to people during Thanksgiving, right? Which I'm totally cool with that. I'm 100% cool with that. All right, so there you go. College picks there. Washington State, we're taking the under at 49. We are going to take Navy +7 against Tulane. And then the over-under for Louisville versus Kentucky is 52. We're taking the under on that one there. So there you go. Those are our college picks. Craig, I love the fact that you went with 2 over-unders this time because they have been fantastic.
I don't know how.
For us.
It's luck. Probably next year we'll lose every single one.
Oh, don't say that. Why are you putting that out there? Don't even put that energy out there. It's not necessary. Let's talk NFL. We got 3 games tomorrow. The reason that we've said that we wanted to take some action on the Thursday games, and lo and behold, we've decided on taking 2, and I like the fact that we're taking 2. So let's start with the one where it wasn't the automatic for us, and that was we're taking Washington +7 over Dallas.
In fact, before we do that, let's be clear: the Bears-Lions game. I don't know if you had a strong opinion either way, but once Trubisky was out, I really don't know. Like I feel like there's a chance Chase Daniel could play well, and that could be the narrative of tomorrow. Like I definitely think there's a chance of that because Detroit's not that good. They got a little lucky last week that they won. If I had to take a side, I probably would take the Bears, but you just have no idea what he's going to be. So not a play for us.
No, and the problem is that everybody's kind of split on that game too. Like everybody just assumes, and at least the fantasy community does, that with Trubisky out, that it's going to be a very heavy Jordan Howard game, and I just completely disagree with that. I
think Nagy's just going to put this guy in and let him throw it. Like
I think, that's the way you beat Detroit. Like with Ziggy Ansah back, with the trade for Snacks Harrison, the run defense for Detroit has gotten so much better over the last 3-4 weeks of the season right now. And you don't beat them by running on them anymore like you did in the beginning of the season. You beat them through the air. Darius Slay will be on Allen Robinson, fine, but it's a garbage secondary and garbage linebackers trying to cover Anthony Miller, Taylor Gabriel, Trey Burton. It's just not going to work for them. So I think he's got to let Chase Daniel throw the ball around if they're going to win this one outright.
Yeah, they just played each other 2 weeks ago. And if we did this live stream for this Thursday right after we saw that game last Sunday, Howard, we would have said take the Bears 100%. But it just goes to show you everything that we talk about. Who would have thought the Lions last week would have even played toe-to-toe with Carolina? Like it's such a week-to-week league. You can't predict these sort of things. So especially in a game like this where the quarterback is out, the temptation now for me is probably to take the Bears because the line is so low, and I think the Bears have enough to win this game. But no, it's not one that I like. Washington is getting 7 points at Dallas. I still am not a big believer, Howard, in the Cowboys. I'm just not. Colt McCoy has been around a long time, and he's not the kind of guy tomorrow that's going to throw 37 passes, complete 29 of them, and throw for 350 yards. But he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And it's going to really, our wager tomorrow by taking the points is going to really rely on the running game. It's going to really rely on Peterson. And it's kind of similar to the narrative that I just played with Navy, getting 7 points. Like they're going to have to control some of this game in order for us to stay in it. But Dallas has been predominantly over the last 2 years one of the best betting under teams in the NFL. They don't score a lot of points. And they're also one of those teams where you see them 1 week play, and then you see them the next, and they look like 2 completely different teams. So We need the Redskins defense to stay in this game. I do think Dallas is going to run the ball a ton with Ezekiel Elliott. Whether or not he's successful, I'm not sure. What we're hoping for is Washington to score 2 touchdowns. If they can get 2 touchdowns in this game, a 14, along with 2 field goals, give us 20, I could see like a 26-20 game, 21-20 game, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Washington win. I know their offensive line is really banged up, Howard, but 7 points in the NFL on a quick turnaround, got to take the points here.
I agree with you on this one completely because, listen, you look at first of all, Dallas's offensive line is going through a lot of issues right now. Tyrone Smith is dealing with back issues, spasms. They're not 100% sure about him. Zach Martin also dealing with some injuries, and we saw what happened last year. Once that happened, once Dallas's offensive line got stuck with a couple of injuries, they fell apart. Now, they didn't have the injuries the first time that they played Washington. And here's the thing, is that I think a lot of people are underrating Washington's defense. Like, really underrated. They're holding running backs to like 3.7 yards per carry, under 100 yards per game here. And the last time they faced Dallas, Zeke ran, I think it was like 11 or 12 times for like 33 yards. They abandoned the ground game there completely. So he's not, an unstoppable guy here. And I think that Washington knows how to play this one. Now, does Dallas have a little bit better of a passing game right now than they did the first time? Sure. But you're talking about Josh Norman taking Amari Cooper out of this. And then you're looking at the rest of the secondary and the linebackers for Washington going up against who? Michael Gallup. Listen, I hate to say anything negative or bad, but you can't tell me that this guy's head's going to be totally in the game right now. I don't know if you know the story, Craig.
I don't know. No, I'm not familiar.
Gallup's brother, they were in Atlanta, and Gallup's brother was there or whatever, apparently killed himself. Wow, I mean, he killed himself, but apparently it was like right there. It was on game day. Gallup got the news. It was a very upsetting thing. But I can't sit here and say that Gallup's going to have his head in the game. So Amari Cooper's dealing with tight coverage. Gallup's head's not in the game. Cole Beasley, who knows? I like this because, again, and also we looked at Adrian Peterson the last time these two teams faced, rushed for 24 times for 99 yards. I mean, it wasn't a great yards per carry average, but he still almost posted a century spot on these guys. And I don't believe in Dallas either, like you. I think they're playing over their heads right now. I don't think the secondary is as strong as they claim it to be.
Yeah, and I give them credit for that. But again, and you look at the line, Howard, if Alex Smith doesn't get hurt and he plays in this game, right? Mm-hmm. What would the line be? 4, 4.5, something like that? Like, is he really worth 3 points? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's okay, but it's really been everything else outside of him that's won games for Washington this season. So, and that's not to take anything away from him. He provides stability. He can run. Like, he does good things, but let's be honest. I mean, look how good the Chiefs are right now.
Yeah.
Alex Smith is gone, I mean, and look, he's had a great career. He's been a very good quarterback for sure for a long time. But it's kind of always been the story with Alex Smith, unfortunately, when he's left or someone else has been there, whether it was Kaepernick before that with San Francisco, now it's Kansas City with Mahomes. Maybe Colt McCoy will end up playing well. It would not shock me. This could be like a Keenum from last year with Washington. So they have enough weapons, I think, offensively. They're going to have to run the ball against Dallas or it's going to be a problem. That's going to happen for sure. And whether or not, I'm not sure. But I think we go down to the wire in this game. I think Washington has a good chance to cover.
I agree with you. All right, next game that we're taking here, it's also a Thanksgiving game. Saints-Falcons. Take the Saints, right, Craig? They're an automatic, aren't they?
Boy, I'll tell you, this line is shocking. This line is shocking. These two teams played each other a couple of months ago, and the Falcons were a favorite. The Falcons were a point favorite in Atlanta. And because the Saints are just crushing teams, and last week beat Philadelphia by 40, and the week before beat Cincinnati by 50, the odds makers can't make this line high enough. It's 13 right now. And this is a rivalry game. These teams know each other. They've played against each other so often. Look, can Atlanta go to New Orleans and win? I don't know. I mean, the Saints are playing great. The Falcons' defense is not. And again, the reason why this is a great spot, too, is because the Falcons played so bad last week. Like, if Atlanta, Howard, beats – it was Cleveland last week, right?
Yep.
Was it Cleveland? Okay. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. If Atlanta goes to Cleveland last week and wins 28-7, Do you think this line is 13? No way. No chance. It would be 9.5 or 8 or 7. I mean, you have to take 13 points. And listen, the Saints may end up winning 51-14. It's certainly possible. And I am usually of the opinion of letting the trend be your friend. And the Saints have been mauling teams and covering against teams. But this is not, I mean, Atlanta is not Cleveland. Atlanta is not one of those teams that can't put up points. I don't know what happened to them last week against the Browns. But in general, for the most part this season, the Falcons, while they've lost a lot of games, have been scoring a lot of points. And I would be more concerned if this was Atlanta at the Rams or Atlanta at the Chiefs, Howard. But these two teams play each other so often and know each other. And these games are always, it feels like relatively close. I have to take the points. It's a scary proposition going against the Saints. The line will probably be 14 by tomorrow morning. I think you got to take Atlanta. You got to do it. I can't lay 13 points in an NFL game on Thursday. Like, I just can't do it. Can't do it.
I'm with you there. I like taking the Falcons here. Matt Ryan, they can talk about what his numbers look like on the road. It doesn't matter what his numbers look like on the road. He's in a dome. He's in a dome that he's familiar with against a familiar opponent. He's got Julio Jones. He's got Calvin Ridley, who's banged up with a thigh issue, but that's okay because he still has Mohamed Sanu, and he still has Marvin Hall, who takes care of the deep ball, and he's been a lot more reliant on Austin Hooper, his tight end recently, and I think that that's just a good solid move. Breeze has amazing weapons. Kamara and Ingram are the greatest 1-2 punch in football right now out of any backfield, but beyond Michael Thomas, though, there's a little sketchiness going on with the receivers. Traquan Smith is dealing with a foot injury, so it's the short week turnaround here, and is he going to be able to be okay? After that, there's Austin Carr, and then there's nobody. There's nobody, and Austin Carr is is practically a nobody as well. So, again, I like this game to be a shootout. I like this game to be relatively close. I don't think that Atlanta rolls over the way Philadelphia did last week. Not one bit.
Yeah, and you go back, and again, history doesn't always tell the story, but these two quarterbacks have been there for a long time. And Howard, if I'm not mistaken, looking at it here, you have to go back to 2011 was the last time that the Saints beat the Falcons by more than 13 points at home.
There you go.
And not only that, but games that have been played in New Orleans. Last year, Saints win 23-13. 2016, Falcons win 45-32. 2016, Falcons, Saints win 31-21. That's 10. Overtime the time before that. They win by 6 in 2013. They just, look, maybe this is the team that goes to the Super Bowl. I know they're favored to go to the Super Bowl. And if the line was 8.5 or 9, Howard, I think we would just lay these points or not do anything. But I gotta take points like this with a good team in the NFL. And again, the other part of this that I didn't even realize, and again, I'm looking at it from a wagering perspective. I know you look at it from both wagering and more of a fantasy perspective. I was not aware what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles defensive backs. I had no idea that they were missing 4 guys or 5 guys last week. And the week before it was against the Bengals. So, I mean, I think the Falcons will put up a fight against New Orleans. And even though they have some injuries, like, I didn't realize that Philly had all those guys out. They took free agents out to play. I had no idea about it.
Dude, they called me up like on Saturday. They were like, Howard, could you do me a favor? Can you be here and for this game and play defensive back for us? I was like, no, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I feel like I let them down a little bit, but yeah, no, Philly was just, I mean, it's been banged up. And listen, you're talking about Brian Poole, Rob Alford, and Desmond Trufant in the secondary for the Falcons. Three veterans who are very familiar with all of these receivers for the Saints. And I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100% here that I think that that's just too many points to lay in a divisional matchup against teams who see each other on a regular basis, who both play really well in domes. And on a short week. And on a short week, too. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I like that. There you go. So Washington with +7. Taking the Falcons, we're taking the +13.
Right.
And we're going to take 2 out of the 3 Thanksgiving games. So we're going to have to get our picks in for the rest of the week. And here we go. Number 1, I'm taking Browns +3. Cincinnati stinks.
What is going on with them?
They are
Yeah.
Atrocious. Defensively, they're a nightmare. Like offensively, maybe they get AJ Green back. Maybe he works more as a decoy in this. Whatever the case would be, they need to run heavy with Joe Mixon because it's the secondary for Cleveland. That's their big strength. So they need to run heavy with Joe Mixon, and they need to avoid Andy Dalton passing the ball and making a ton of mistakes. And I'm sorry, but when your defense has been giving up 40 points a game, every game, I mean, literally for like the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 weeks, I think it's like almost a 38 to 40 point average that Cincinnati's been giving up, that they're going to have to pass the ball, and they're going to end up, Dalton, when he's like in the matchup like this, he just consistently makes mistakes. Now, I don't love the fact that there are that Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry aren't on the same page. I don't love the fact that Antonio Callaway is the number 2 wide receiver over there. And I don't like the fact that David Njoku, their tight end, has seen 5 targets in the last 2 games. What I do like, though, is Nick Chubb coming out of the backfield, that the Browns have committed to giving him the ball at least 18 to 20 times a game, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the score is. And you look at Cincinnati's run defense, and it's probably one of the worst in the NFL. I think they've given up somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 or 11 rushing touchdowns on the season, which is on the higher end of the spectrum here. I think the Browns actually turn around, control the pace of this game using Nick Chubb. I think they take down the I think they can win this game outright. Forget about we're getting 3 points. But yeah, I just hate Cincinnati.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, you look at that line, Howard, and it's telling you that Cincinnati is not a better team than Cleveland. I mean, you get 3 points for being for having home field. That's the way it works in the NFL. And this is basically saying that the matchup is even at this point, and there is no favorite. And that leads me to believe that the line says a lot of people, the public, probably will ride Cincinnati and say, "Oh, all I have to do is win by 3 points." It's the wrong approach here in this one. Browns, haven't been a team that's covered a lot of spreads over the last couple of weeks. They did look good last week. Maybe this propels them to 2 wins in a row, but inevitably, underdogs and taking underdogs through the years is always a winning proposition, especially home underdogs. Underdogs this year are winning about 58% of the time, and home underdogs are winning about 60% of the time. So always better to take the points in the NFL. You never know what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis. Listen, sometimes you got to take favorites. There are a couple actually this week that I do like that are favorites also, but I think that was the one mistake that we made last week, was riding these favorites too heavy, and it definitely backfired. I mean, without a doubt.
Well, the one favorite we are going to take, and just to hint at what our last pick is, it's obviously going to be an underdog here, but our one favorite that we're going to take, we're going to go with the Colts. We're going to lay 7.5. Obviously, neither one of us like the half-point hook in there. It is what it is, but it is Miami. And let's face it, if there's one way that it's the easiest recipe in the world, is that if you want to beat Miami, you just run the ball down their throats. Just run it up the gut, send them between the tackles. Marlon Mack has been fantastic. He had a bad week last week. Okay, fine.
The other guys ran the ball well.
Nyheim Hines ran the ball well. Jordan Wilkins ran the ball well. Yeah. So I think we go very run heavy here. Andrew Luck, on the other hand, also 7 straight games with 3 or more touchdown passes.
And no sacks.
So
listen, the Dolphins are going back to Tannehill. He's still not 100% healthy.
Oh, he's terrible.
Gase told Osweiler this week he's got to be ready also. I mean, if Osweiler was starting, the line would have been, I think it went down actually. It was like 8.5 or 9. Now it's down to 7.5. I mean, if you're betting it, you probably want to, go online. As we mentioned at BetDSI, you could buy a half a point and get it down to 7. And you saw, I think this game script is I think the exact same thing as what you saw 2 weeks when Miami played Green Bay, which is Green Bay made a couple of mistakes early. The Dolphins kind of hung in there for the first half. That probably will happen again here. Howard, the Colts are playing out of this world. That game against Tennessee last week, I understand they beat them badly by like 40 points or whatever it was. That didn't have to happen. Like, they could have won that game 21-10. The Colts are playing great, man. They're playing great offensively. They're throwing the ball all over the place. Luck is being protected. Miami probably hangs in there for a while, but it's so strange that, I mean, they're saying Tannehill is close to 100%, but what's the point? Like,
irrelevant. Irrelevant. Whether he's 100% or not, he's still Ryan Tannehill, who throws more picks than he does touchdowns on a regular basis.
They don't have Albert Wilson. They don't have Jakeem Grant. They don't have those long playmakers that they did before.
No, it's terrible.
The Colts defense, I guess, is a little bit is not as strong as some other teams.
No,
but 2 weeks ago we should, when we took Indianapolis, we should have had that cover. The one win we got last week was Indy, and it wasn't even close. And they've been our friend, so we may as well go back to them, I think, this week. I do think they cover this game, and it probably will have to come late in the game in this one. But I thought they looked offensively fantastic against Tennessee, and I don't put much stock in it because once Gabbard came into the game, I feel like Tennessee just quit. It was just like there's nothing we can do, and it was over. But I still, this is the one favorite that I would go with. Actually, if there was a second favorite that I had to choose, it would be taking Baltimore. I think the Raiders was just like a fluky thing last week. That would be my sixth favorite game, would be to take that one favorite there, because I don't think what we saw last week from Oakland was right. Most people, smart people, Howard, all thought Arizona would blow them out. That was one of the most disappointing performances I've seen from any NFL team this season. And by the way, David Johnson ran the ball in the end zone at the end of the game. It was called back on a holding penalty. We would have covered that game. Raiders had to have everything go right just to get in that game and win. Arizona was super. That coach, they were so conservative at the end of that game. They gave the ball back to the Raiders.
So I lost on a survivor pick in my survivor pool. That's down to like 80 people at this point right now, and there's over 100K in the pot. And I took the Arizona Cardinals this past week with my pick. So can we please not talk about that one anymore?
Yeah, I was really disappointed in the end game coaching. They just thought they won the game. I don't know how you could think that in any game. So either way, I'm not a believer in the Raiders at all. And I think last week is the last game they win. Mark it down all season long. That's it. They're not.
Amen, brother. Amen. But we're not taking the Ravens.
Too many points in an NFL game with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Can't do it. So we're going to take Indy minus 7.5. And then the final game, Howard, I don't know how many Monday nights we've had all year. Not many.
I think we took 2. I think we've taken 2 Monday nights.
The Giants, we got one, right? We got one back on the Giants against San Francisco a couple weeks ago. Maybe we had one more. I don't remember. This is an ugly-looking pick. It may be my favorite pick of all. It may be my favorite. Is
this your favorite pick?
It may be my favorite.
Really?
It could be.
Really?
Houston deserves to be 6.5-point favorites over anyone? The Houston Texans? They've been gifted games every week. Somebody else gives them a free win every game. Well, how is this even possible? They're not good at all.
No, you don't think DeAndre Hopkins can easily whiz by Adoree Jackson after seeing Adoree Jackson get demolished by T.Y. Hilton last week? You didn't see that part?
There was no coming back for Tennessee at that point. Can you figure out what's happening week to week with Tennessee? I can't.
No, I can't
either. Did they win
either.
5 in a row going into that game last week or something?
And you want to take Tennessee with the points?
I do. It's just too many points. Houston shouldn't be a 6-point favorite over any team in the NFL.
I will ask you one last time. Are you sure you don't want to take Seattle?
No, I don't. I like Carolina.
Then talk to me here. Tennessee 6.5 points. We're taking the,
just a good
points here on Monday night.
Spot. I really don't even care if it's Blaine Gabbert. I've watched Houston play all season long. They have how many wins this year? Are they 7-3? Is that right?
Yeah, they just won 7 in a row.
And 4 of them are like joke wins. Just horrible coaching, horrible decisions at the end of the game. Would it shock you, Howard, if Houston won this game 24-19? That's a cover. It's too many points.
I know.
You gotta take it. Howard, it could be 24-12 with a minute to go. And Houston can dominate the game. And then Gabbert can just throw a few passes to Dion Lewis. He runs in for a touchdown. They cover.
Don't say Dion Lewis. That dude's hot trash, too. That dude. I used that dude in my DFS lineups all last week.
By the way, I didn't end up with Derrick Henry on any team, but I thought Derrick Henry was going to be a star in the NFL. What happened to him?
Because he's garbage. Because he averages 2.1 yards per carry.
Great, and he was great last year in some late games, run the ball down the field. Look, what can I tell you? I don't love Tennessee. They're an ugly looking team. But honestly, Howard, did anybody think that Tennessee, coming off getting sacked 11 times against Baltimore, would come back and almost beat the Chargers in London? No. Did anybody think that Tennessee would go into Dallas and beat Dallas? No. Tennessee, tough to figure out. You can't give that team too many points. This is too many points.
All right. So there you go. Those are going to be our super contest picks. I'm going to get those in. Got to get those in nice and early. I think I got to get them in by 6 a.m. local time here or something like that. So here we go. So Washington Redskins +7. We are taking the Falcons +13 against the Saints.
Win at least one of those tomorrow. At least one.
We're going 2-0 tomorrow, Craig.
There's no way Thanksgiving Day is going to be 3 favorites winning. It ain't happening tomorrow. It's not happening.
Washington +7. Falcons +13. Browns +3 over Cincinnati. We're laying 7.5 with the Colts over Miami. Thank you, because I hate Miami. And then God help us all, Craig is going to light our money up like dynamite here. Tennessee, 6.5 points.
I love Tennessee.
Plus 6.5 against DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson. Kiki Kute.
Is the line 6.5 in that game? I don't know what it came out today. Let's see. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, so the money's going to come back down. It's 6 right now. So we're getting.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel better.
Is Mariota playing? Probably not, right?
He is questionable for this, which, yeah, I mean, again, listen, I'm good with it, man. You know I'm good with it. And I like the fact that we're taking dogs this week. Like you said, last week, we just invested too heavily into the favorites.
We got too smart for ourselves, and then the game started going off, and we had all the favorites, and it was lost. I was like,
it was abusive. It was like I almost wanted to stop. If I didn't have to do that show on Sirius XM, I would have stopped watching football altogether last week.
Yeah, it just look, as a rule in general, because the NFL is so unpredictable, they're handing you points. You pretty much have to take them. And then if you're going to do this, like we're going to do it for 17 weeks, and we're going to consistently take the underdogs. Out of the 17 weeks, there's going to be 2 or 3 weeks we're going to get smashed because the favorites are going to win a couple of weeks, and that's a couple of weeks ago Vegas made their big money. But in general, it's the expect the unexpected type league, and that's just kind of the way I see it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Again, we're not going to be doing this on Friday. Wishing everybody out there a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe tonight. Be safe all weekend long. And Craig and I will reconvene with you guys next Tuesday. So we'll catch you then. Take care.